हरिः ओम् श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। ॐ वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Namaste friends. A warm welcome to session 35 of the series Gift, Gita for Inner Freedom and Transformation. We are now in chapter 7. Om Sadashivasamaramбhaं Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. As I just mentioned, we're studying chapter 7, that is Gnana Vijnana Yoga. In today's class, we're going to be seeing some wonderful Sthita Prajna verses of the 7th chapter, in between verses 16 and 20. Since we've just entered the Madhyama Shatakam, it's been a few classes, but I feel it's always nice to just take stock of where we are as a spiritual seeker. So the Gita, as we know, has been divided broadly based on the Mahavakya, Tattvamasi, into 3 Shatakams, the Prathama, Madhyama and the Charama Shatakam. They are divided also based on the topic and the sadhana that a seeker is required to practice and perfect in each of these Shatakams. So in the first 6 chapters, the focus was on the Tvam Padartha, that is the Jiva, and the sadhana was primarily karma yoga. So all of us before coming to Vedanta have been karmis. That is doing things purely for material benefit and being affected by the action itself and the result also. Then through karma yoga, we learn about Ishvara Arpana, Ishvara Prasada Bhavana, and our sadhana is getting refined at the gross or the action level. And our bhakti is in the form of ekarupa. So we are not disturbing the status quo that existed before we became spiritual seekers. So if we were praying to our Ishta Devata, that continues in the first Shatakam also. In the Madhyama Shatakam, there is a shift. We focus on the Tat Padartha, that is Ishvara. Though we have mentioned in Karma Yoga, that is Ishvara Arpana Bhavana and Ishvara Prasada Bhavana, we have not analyzed, or Lord himself has not thought it is appropriate to introduce Ishvara. He wanted us to understand our true nature first before revealing his true nature. And the sadhana here is Upasana Yoga. And it becomes more subtle. We're working on the mind now. And from Ekarupa, we're moving to Vishwarupa Darshana. So this is a transition from visualizing God as Rama or as Krishna in one form with 4 hands, living in a particular place, very distant, very remote from all of us, but to somebody whom we can feel and sense his presence at all times. That is the sadhana in Madhyama Shatakam. In the Charama Shatakam, it is about values, about the gunas. It is more about integrating our entire personality to practice and to establish ourselves in the Atma using all the sadhanas that we have earned, the physical action, refinement of our actions, and then refinement of our mind. And now we have graduated to worshipping the Lord in his Arupa form, that is a Nirguna Brahman form. So this is our spiritual journey, so systematically laid out by Lord Krishna. In this 7th chapter, titled Gnana Vijnana Yoga, meaning knowledge of God, the key word here is knowledge. So Krishna is not saying that God is somebody to have faith in or to believe in or to just it's not a mythical figure anymore. Lord Krishna wants us to know his true nature. So, who is God? Actually, in our general conversations, only with, say, non spiritual people, they ask, who is God? Where is he? When can he be seen? How is he? And all that. So, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna right at the outset in this chapter that he is going to tell what is Ishvara Swarupam, what is his true nature. And it consists of two parts, that is para prakriti, his higher nature, consisting of the nirguna, formless, changeless, permanent chaitanya swarupa, infinite, eternal, the higher principle, Satchidananda Swarupa. And then we have the apara prakriti, that is his lower nature, which is the ever changing, impermanent, but still infinite and eternal matter principle. So, whatever we can feel with our senses, touch, hear, experience, time, space, all that comes under the Lord's lower nature, apara prakriti, and the consciousness principle, the jivatma uh, principle that we learned in the first six chapters, that is the Lord's Paraprakriti. So, what is the Lord essentially telling us here? It is the divinization of everything. The world as we know it is divine. So, God is both the intelligent and the material cause. We already knew that as Atma or as a consciousness, we are divine because we know Aham Brahmasmi. And now Lord Krishna is telling us that even this material world is also divine because it is his manifestation only. In fact, Swami Paramarthananda ji tells us that the world is a live body of the Lord. In fact, even the Big Bang theory, which says that the universe began with this Big Bang from a dense, tiny mass. So everything that we see now came from just that one thing. So this tells us that that forget, as God as one entity, the world as another, Atma, Anatma, and then um, me, you, this whole differentiation, everything Lord Krishna says is him alone. So there is no my God, your God, uh, the gods of one religion or another, but this entire universe is divine. There are many stories in our scriptures and which we know from our childhood actually, which speak about the omnipresence of the Lord. Bhakta Prahlada is one. So when Hiranyakashipu is frustrated and absolutely angry that Prahlada cannot stop meditating upon Narayana, and then finally he asks him, "Show me where Narayana is. Is he in this wall? Is he in the floor? Is he in this room?" And then Prahlada says, "Yes, he is everywhere." And then finally he asks him, "Is he in this pillar?" And then Prahlada says yes. And then comes Vishnu in Narasimha Avatara. So this story essentially tells us that God is present everywhere. Probably our focus on the story when we heard it before was on the avatara of Vishnu. But now when we are studying uh, the seventh chapter to know the nature of God, we understand that Prahlada is telling us that God is everywhere. There's another popular story from Maharashtra. So there was a saint Namdev who goes to a very famous Shiva temple, and there he sees an old man who's lying down with his feet on top of the linga. So Namdev is horrified. Then he scolds the old man, saying, "How can you keep your dirty feet on the Shiva linga?" So the old man says, "Okay, keep it anywhere where there is no God." So Namdev drags his feet as far away as possible from the Shivalinga. And to his astonishment, a new Shivlinga sprouts up under the old man's feet. And he does this multiple times, and each time, wherever he places this old man's feet, a new Shivlinga comes up. So this story just illustrates that that everything, everywhere, at all times is divine, and the Lord is omnipresent. But it is so difficult to perceive this divinity. Though we know, and the Lord has told us that the world is a divine manifestation of the Lord, it's very difficult for us to perceive this divinity. We cannot perceive Paraprakriti due to its non-availability to our senses, the consciousness principle, and we cannot perceive Aparaprakriti due to ignorance and our own raga dvesha, which we impose upon everything that we see and experience in this world. So the para prakriti is hidden, and the apara prakriti and the para prakriti, which is inherent in the apara prakriti, that is also hidden. This is because of Maya, the Avarana Shakti, which obscures this divinity, and the Vikshepa Shakti of Maya, which projects this entire material world, complete with names, forms, emotions, relationships, work, everything. We are so caught up in that that it results in the fundamental problem of samsara. And this makes us uh, run, literally chase peace, security, and happiness, which we always feel the next thing in this world will give us. So if as children we were wanting to become adults, we wanted to finish studying, so we will be happy without exams. And then after we start working, we understand that working is so much more harder than studying. And then comes marriage, and then there's children, and then there are problems after problems. And every time we think one thing is going to give us peace and happiness, it does maybe give us some security, peace, happiness, but all of it, we know, lasts for a short while, and then we are just marginally better off than what we were before. So Lord Krishna presents bhakti or sharanagati as the solution to samsara. He says, Mameva ye prapadyanti maya metam tarantite. Only those who surrender to me can perceive my divinity. And bhakti becomes the all important quality for a seeker, because our mind and intellect are also so immersed and overwhelmed by all the world of names and forms that it's very difficult for us to intellectually overcome the power of Maya. It is only by anchoring in the higher, changeless Atma Brahman that we can overcome samsara. With this background, I invite Dr. Ambika to present this next beautiful and popular verse on Bhakti. Over to you, Dr. Ambika.
Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. The verse goes like, Chaturvidha bhajante mam Janah Sukritonorjuna Arto Jigyasurat Arthi Jnani Cha Bharatarshabha. In this verse, Bhagwan Shri Krishna is describing four types of virtuous people, Sukrito Janaha, who surrender to me. The four types of devotees are Arti, Artharthi, Jigyasu, and Jnani. So, who are the Arthis? So, they are the crisis bhaktas. So, when these bhaktas are in some problem, they suddenly get the devotions. They pray to the God to take them out from the particular situation with the contract that if they are out of the situation, they will perform certain rituals. Artharthi. They are the people who worship God to get profit or benefit. They goes to the Lord. It is for the Sukha Prapti they want. In both the cases of Arthi and Artharthi, the Bhakta is not interested in the God. He is using them of getting what they want. In the first case, it was a Dukkha Nivritri. And in the second, they want the wealth, Sukha Prapti. So both the bhaktis are done with some motives. So this type of bhakti is known as the Sakama Bhakti. Then the other types of devotee is Jigyasu. So once a person knows that whatever they are getting, the joy is not everlasting. So they become interested in knowing about the God. The God is their goal. They are ready to sacrifice everything. So these types of bhaktas are called the Madhyam Bhakta. And the fourth and the final is the Jnani. The God is not away from them. They are the one who has accomplished the God is within them. They are the Uttam Bhakta. The God is neither the Sadhyam or the Sadhanam for them. They are the Siddha Purusha. We can also see the same thing in the different perspective, that during a lifetime a person can go through all these four stages of arthi, artharthi, jigyasu and jnani. So it start the bhakta starts as the art when he is in some type of problem. So the Lord is a means for the material gain. And once the bhakta knows that this is not going to last forever, the material goal cannot give him the security, this Sakam Bhakti turns into Nishkama Bhakti and he becomes a Jigyasu. The Jigyasu knows that God alone can give the security. God can be accomplished in the Jnanam. He knows that the Ishwar Jnanam is only possible through the purified mind, and all the actions they are doing is for the purification of their mind or Chitta Shuddhi. And once he knows that, he becomes a Jnani, and he knows the God is nowhere but within themselves. Next slide. So these two type of people, like the four bhaktas, can also be classified into two groups. Like both are religious in nature, but one, the arth and artharthi, can be come under like materialistic religious people. For them, the religion is for the material growth, and for Jigyasu and Jnani people, they are the spiritual religious people. The religion is for Chitta Shuddhi. They are the Karma Yogi. Their main goal is to attain the God and to know about the God. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ambika, for that nice and detailed explanation about this popular verse, which tells us about the four types of bhaktas. So here, Lord Krishna tells us that all bhaktas are virtuous, sukrutinaha. Actually, he tells this in contrast with the previous verse, where he calls those who do not even believe or think that there is a higher power. He calls those purely materialistic people as dushkrutinaha. So here he says any form of bhakti is good. So, as Dr. Ambika mentioned, the first two, the Artha and Artharthi Bhaktas, they use God as the means for material growth. Their focus and orientation is still towards the world, and hence they use God as a means to grow materially. As they uh, grow probably in their material world and with sufficient punya, then they come towards spirituality and then use the world as the means for spiritual growth. So with each stage we see the duration of remembering God increases. If this Artha Bhakta, who Swami Paramathananda calls as the crisis Bhakta, he remembers God only during times of crisis. And then we come to the Artharthi Bhakta, who remembers God not only during bad times but also during good times. So he is remembering God more than the Artha Bhakta. And with every stage, the mind becomes more refined because we are now more humble. We know that there is God, and we are more anchored in Him. And our raga dvesha also reduces. When we become jignasu bhaktas, which I think most of us are in that stage, probably there is some uh, bhakti for sukha prapti and also for jignasu, where we're really keen to know more about Ishvara Swarupa. So we know that we are in the third stage of the bhakti ladder, and that is very encouraging for us as seekers. I now invite Diksha to present the next verse. Diksha, please.
हरि ओम् गुरुभ्यो नमः। तेषां ज्ञानी नित्ययुक्तः एकभक्तिर्विशिष्यते प्रियो हि ज्ञानिनोत्यर्थम् अहं स च मम प्रियः. Let us understand each word of this sutra or the shloka. Tesham, amongst these, among the four types of bhakta, that is Arthi, Artharthi, Jignasu and Nani. Jnani, Vishayan Janati iti Gnaha, somebody who knows the Jnani. Nitya Yuktaha, always Yuktaha. Yuktaha arises from the word Yuja, Yuja Dhatu, that is combination. So here, Lord Krishna speaks about the one who is always connected to the Paramatma. Jivatma Paramatma Yojana, that is Nitya, is denoted by the word Nitya Yuktaha. Eka Bhakti. Bhakti word arises from the dhatu bhaja. Bhaja sevayam. It tells about the seva that a person is doing. But here, Lord is speaking about the Advaita Bhakti. Vishishyate, meaning superiorly. See, we can notice that Vishishyate is the Kriyapada, that which denotes action. And in the language of Sanskrit, this category of Kriyapadas are put into two. One is the Parasmaipadi and the Atmanepadi. When the Kriyapada is in Atmanepadi, like in her, that is in Vishishyate, it means the doer is also benefited by it. Now that Krishna is telling about this, by this verse, it means, or by the meaning of what Krishna wants to say, it means that this action is also benefiting the Lord. Let us see what that action is later on. But just remember that this is not just benefiting the Jnani, the student, but also the Lord. Priyaha, dear. He, because. Jnaninaha, the Jnanis. Atyartham, highest. Aham, I. Saha, him. Cha, and Mama, me. Priyaha is here. So, the Anvaya here is Tesham Nitya Yuktaha Eka Bhaktihi Jnani Vishishyate Jnaninaha Aham Atyartham Priyaha Mama Cha Saha Priyaha Bhavati. The concept here is borrowed from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Yajnavalkya makes a disturbing statement that nobody loves wife for the sake of wife. Everybody loves wife for one's own sake. As long as wife is giving me joy, I love her. And the moment she becomes pain in the neck, I will throw her away. Therefore, Maitreyi Brahmana says, everyone loves oneself the most. In the case of Jnani, Bhagavan and self have become identical. Therefore, self-love is equal to Ishvara Prema. When we see the Anvaya, as I've already told before, Jnaninaha aham atyartham priyaha mama cha saha priyaha bhavati. That is, the Jnanis love me the most and I love them as well. This is what the meaning is. But if we put atyarthaha instead of that, if we make another Anvaya which says, Jnaninaha aham priyaha Mama cha saha atyartam priyaha bhavati. It means Jnanis love me and I love them more than they love me. This might not be practically correct because Abheda Jnani or Advaita Jnana alone is dearest to me as there is undivided love. So the importance is being given that to the object, that is the student or the doer has to love himself the most in a context of Jivatma Paramatma Ekam. Only then will the Lord love you. And this undividedness in that Jnani should be to its superlative degree. Therefore, Bhagavan, self-love and Jnani love are one and the same. Jeevatma Paramatma Aikya Jnanena Evam Uttamam Premam Bhakti. I would like to conclude quoting one of Kabir's dohas. Between the poles of conscious and the unconscious, there has the mind that made a swing. Thereon hang all the beings and all the worlds, and that swing never ceases its sway. Millions of beings are there. The sun and the moon in their courses are there. Millions of ages pass, and the swing goes on. All swing. The sky and the earth and the air and the water, and the Lord Himself taking form. And the sight of this has made me, Kabir, a servant. Thank you. Hari.
Thank you very much, Diksha, for that clear and word by word explanation of this wonderful verse. So, verses 17, 18, and 19 are the Sthita Prajna verses of the 7th chapter. Our teacher, Dr. Timappa Hegde, sir, calls these verses as goalpost verses because they show us the direction in which we need to go. We've all heard of this phrase near and dear ones. Obviously, near does not mean physically near because our own family members, siblings, parents, children, friends, they may be far away, but they are very dear to us. They are dear to us because we love them. And sometimes there are moments of such closeness between us and that loved one that when the feeling of other disappears, there is uh, intense closeness where we just feel we are one. And this moment, this type of closeness, which we feel only momentarily, the Gnani feels always with the Lord. He is so intimately connected with his own true nature, that is of the Atma, that he is connected with Ishvara at all times. That's why he is a Nitya Yukta. Therefore, he is the Lord's dearest. Actually, the language that Sri Krishna uses is so beautiful. He calls the Gnani as the dearest to him. That is, he's never separate from him. This is like a wonderful verse. We move to the next Sthita Prajna verse, which will be explained by Vani ma'am. Over to you, Vani madam.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The verse goes like this. Udaraha sarva evaite gnani tvatmaiva me matam astitaha sahayuktatma mamevanuttamam gatim. So the word meaning of this verse is sarvayete, all these devotees, eva udaraha are certainly noble. Two, however, gnani atma eva, the wise man is myself. Me matam, this is my teaching. Because yuktatma, with a steadfast mind, saha astitaha, he has resorted to me, mameva, me alone, anuttamam gatin, who am the highest goal. The meaning of this verse is, all the devotees are certainly noble, however, the wise man is myself. This is my teaching, because with a steadfast mind, he has resorted to me alone, who am the highest goal. So till now, we saw about the 4 types of bhaktas, the Artha, Artharthi, Jignasu and the Gnani bhaktas. In the previous verse, we saw that Krishna says, Gnani bhakta is my favorite, is the superior. He is the dearest. So now a question arises. So what about the other 3 bhaktas? So let us see who is a bhakta. Bhakta or devotees are one who has love for God. Their attention is on God, whatever may be their intention, whether they're for spiritual growth or material growth. So Swami Chinmayananda says, love is measured by our identification. The more we identify, there is more love. The complete identification, then there is complete love. So Artha, Artharthi and Jignasu Bhaktas identify themselves with God only at certain times. whenever the need is there. They do not have complete identification with God. They have their own personalities different from God. They are Dvaita Bhaktas. They feel I am different and God is different. And God is there to fulfill my desires or remove my troubles. There is a sense of difference because they do not know their real nature. So once Lord Hanuman said with respect to Lord Rama, Deha Drishtva Dasoham. So with respect to body, I am your servant. Jiva Drishtva Tvadamshakaha. I am your Amsha. With respect to mind and intellect, I am a part and you are the whole. But Swarupataha Tvamemaham. But essentially, I and you are the same. Coming to the verse, Udaraha Sarva Yevaite. So Lord Krishna says, all my dear devotees are very dear to me. They are noble and great. They have so much of faith in me that they approach me in their distress or in troubles. And some approach me when they really want to accomplish their material goals. Krishna is so liberal. He says, whether you approach me for material gain or spiritual gain, when you come to me, seek my refuge, you are very dear to me. I love you, protect you, and fulfill your dreams. Bhagavan says, though I love all my devotees, Gnani is my favorite. He is the greatest and he is the dearest. Gnani Tvatmaiva Me Matam. This is a Mahavakya. Bhagavan says, Gnani is identical with me. All the other bhaktas have Veda. Gnani has recognized himself as me. Others identify with body, mind, and intellect and assumes a false and a different personality other than God. But a Gnani knows and understands that I and God are the same. Aham Brahmasmi. One may begin the journey as Artha, Artharthi, or Jignasu Bhakta, but slowly and steadily he has to reach to be a Gnani Bhakta. Astitaha Saha Yuktatma Mamevanuttamam Gatim. So Gnani with a steadfast mind, committed mind, has resorted to me. He understands that I myself is the nature of God. He performs all his actions with this understanding. He is a karma yogi. He is very clear about the goal of life, that is liberation or moksha. He is not interested in anything else in life. Krishna says he has come to the highest goal of life, which is myself. So Artha, Artharthi, Jignasu Bhaktas have different goals which are finite and inferior. But a Gnani Bhakta has the highest goal and ultimately he attains that supreme state of enlightenment. Hari Om. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Shivani ma'am, for that excellent explanation of this Mahavakya verse. So this is Advaita, non-duality between the Gnani and God, between Jivatma and Paramatma. This Gnani Bhakta has moksha as the only goal and has reached there by mastering all the other sadhanas, that is Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and then Gnana Yoga through Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. So he is a Siddha Purusha. He lives the Mahavakya at the Atma level as Aham Brahmasmi. He knows that everything around him, this entire Anatma, is the divine manifestation alone. So he knows Sarvam Kaluidam Brahma and Ekam Evam Advitiyam. This, in fact, is similar to what Lord Krishna says at the end of the 6th chapter, where he says, Atma upamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna, where the Gnani who is established in the Atma, he sees equality in everything that he sees. And what is the equality that he sees? That it is the same Atma that pervades his body and this entire world, every little, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy. It is the Atma alone that pervades everything. Just like we know that there can be so many types of pots with different colors, shapes, uses, but at all times the Gnani knows that all the pots are made from that clay alone. This is the Mahavakya verse, and Lord Krishna says, Me Matam, this is my teaching. So we can remember this verse and use it as a Nididhyasana shloka every day. We now come to the next verse, which will be explained by Akhilesh. Akhilesh, please.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So the next verse It reads, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudevah Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So let's see what the verse means part by part. So beginning with Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Ante is end. Bahunam is many, and Janmas is the different birth death cycle here referred to the subtle body. Refer to the subtle body simply because the gross body cannot come back exactly the way it is, simply based on the fact that no human being will exactly come back like he looks. But the mind itself can be reproduced from uh, one life to the next. Ideas and everything can be reproduced, and they can come back. So here janma should mean the birth death cycle of the subtle body. So at the end of many janmas, Jnanavan mam prapadyate. So Jnanavan here means through knowledge. Here, knowledge, when we talk about knowledge in the light of Advaita or the Vedanta, is specifically referred is referred to the self knowledge. So they self knowledge is the knowledge of the self. It is not a knowledge of a particular material item or material world. It's not knowledge of the material world, rather it's the knowledge of the atma or the self, which is here called self knowledge, or here referred to as simply as jnanavan. So through knowledge I am attained. So this statement might seem a bit contradictory, because through self knowledge I has to be dissolved, I should be dissolved. But what is referred to as I here is probably said in the next part of the verse, which is Vasudevaha Sarvamiti. All of existence is Vasudeva. Here, Vasudeva, going by what Swami Paramarthananda says, that Vasu is the Sat aspect of existence and Deva is the Chit aspect. So Vasu and Deva coming together forms the underlying principle which supports all of existence, which is referred to as Vasudeva here, and not a particular deity in any form, in any human or any other form. It is actually the Nirguna Brahman. So going back to the previous part of the verse, which is Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate, the I that is referred to here should mean the underlying existential concept that was the same in all the janmas. Like when you start off, when you go one statement back, which is the end of many janmas, when you say that the end of many janmas, that means that there have been many janmas that have come into existence. So there has to be a principle that supports these janmas, no matter what janma that is. And that is what is referred to here as Mam, or in other words, Vasudeva, which is the Nirguna Brahman, that is the supporter of all these janmas. So the next part says, Sa Mahatmaha Sudurlabha. Basically, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha basically means such an individual who realizes that his or her true nature is Vasudeva and not really the name and form given to him, is very rare indeed. Why is it very rare? Simply because as soon as you say it's an individual, like Panaga had said in the beginning of the session, that the goal is to go from the concept of Eka Rupa to Bahurupa. Bahurupa basically means Vishwarupa, as she said. Eka Rupa to Vishwarupa. Here, individual refers to Eka Rupa. So, for that individual, which is by definition Eka Rupa, for Eka Rupa to associate itself with Vishwarupa is a rare event, and such people have been named called Mahatmas simply because they have risen above the material goals and achieved Vasudeva, which is basically Nirguna Brahman. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Akhilesh, for that interesting explanation of this beautiful Sthita Prajna verse. Lord Krishna calls the Gnani here as a Mahatma. So if the Lord himself is calling the Gnani as the Mahatma, then we know that that the Gnani has arrived. He says, Sudurlabham. It's a very, very rare good. Sudurlabham. Su meaning good. So it seems there are 8.4 lakh births possible, starting from microbes to animals to birds to plants to humans to so many 8.4 lakhs of births that are possible, and of them we have been gifted with human birth in this life, as Lord Krishna himself says that even after being gifted with a human birth, Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Yatati Siddhaye. Very few humans also turn towards spirituality in their quest for permanent peace, security, and happiness. So, not only do we have the Manushyatvam, we also have Mumukshatvam, and we are blessed to have the grace of uh, mm, Shrotriya Brahmanishtas as our gurus. So that makes us yoga brashtas, because it is, as Lord Krishna himself says, that it requires several janmas to even reach this level. So we are already at the advanced stage, if we can say that. So with more prayatna and with the Lord's grace, we will be able to discover our true self, while we strive to realize that to as Swami Paramarthananda says that there is no striving actually to become a siddha. You are already a siddha. It is only the removal of all the other layers that we have assumed to be real and true to discover our essential oneness with the Lord. We come to the last beautiful verse of today. I invite Dr. Jagdish to please explain verse 20. Dr. Jagdish, please.
Krishna coins the term for the seventh chapter as Gnana Vijnana Yoga, and he elaborates in the second stanza itself of this chapter that he is speaking about not just the Vedic knowledge Gnana, but the practical experience Vijnana. This slide will show you it's a revision of the previous class, wherein the message is that the chapter is describing the material and the spiritual dimension. Last week, in the stanza 15, as is shown in this slide, he was talking about those souls who are ignorant, lazy, deluded, and demonical. Now, they were the negative ones. What about the positive ones? Slide, sir. Slide, sir. Now, in Sloka 16, which is the next one, Krishna talked about those bhaktas who are pious, the positive ones. But even they are entertaining the phrase Chaturvija Bhajante Mam. That is, either they are arthas, arthartis, jignasus, or gnanis. Next slide, sir. So Krishna says the ultimate solution is, and he emphasizes in a very simple way, have steadfast devotion to me, merge the intellect to me, and surrender to me. That is the way to success. Next slide, sir. So with this little background, let's move to the present shloka, that is shloka 20. Here mainly Krishna is elaborating about those demigods and their limitations so that we get the discretion in our worships. And so the shloka goes, Kamastaisthar ita gnana prapadyante anya devataha tam tam nimam asthaya prakritya niyata swaya. Right, sir? So now coming to rearranging these words for comfort and understanding, niyata swaya, compelled by their prakriti, their nature, prit janaha, those who lack discretion and discrimination, tai tai, this and that. These devotees go to various gods, one day here, one day there, just for their material benefits. Kamaihi, for their desires, not for any moksha. Prapadyanti, they resort to those methods. Different deities, anya devataha. Astaya, Tam Tam. Again, going here and there to different disciplines. Niyama. Now, that is the word meaning of this shloka. Next slide, sir. Now, Swami Chinmayananda, as usual, in his eloquent, bombastic, power-packed way, and he summarizes this shloka as, unfortunately, the brilliance of the human intellect is clouded with vapors of desire, and so it leads to owls of negativity who hoot in the jungles of the mind. That's Chinmayananda. Next slide. To elaborate it simply, people's wisdom has been looted away by their desires and they go to a number of gods following this or that rites, as I elaborated. Take the examples. Well, even in Vedic literature, we have suggestions of going to Subramanya for skin diseases, going to Naga for infertility, or even some masochist tendencies like Uruluseve, walking on the fires, piercing one's cheeks with sharp instruments, and so on. But this is not the best methods. Next slide, sir. So Krishna says ultimately it's only gnana, bhakti, and then only you have a way for mukti. In fact, the demigods themselves are in the cycle of birth, death, and bondage, and they themselves are not liberated, let alone they helping us to liberate. So with this, what are we looking for in this samskara? We are all looking for remedies all the time, and we think it's in the material plane. The three words that can be summed up in our search is security, happiness, and fulfillment. But how? How? The answer is Gnani Tvattam Eva Mematam. That is, we should be like Meera, maybe through Bhakti Yoga, maybe through bhajans, maybe through prayers to merge with the Krishna, or other evolved souls who can merge directly with Krishna. So, coming to the two phrases in this sloka again, Anya Devata Asteya Niyamaha, different deities, different disciplines. So we go to Vignanashaka Ganesha, or to Ashwini brothers for health, or to Lakshmi, the most sought after for wealth. Well, these are fine, they have their own slots, but they are all Sakama Bhaktas. They can never go higher than that. Prakriti Niyataha, they are the slaves of Prakriti and Kama because their desires are never fulfilled. So this Sakama Bhakti gives excellent results perhaps because of their disciplines and sacrifices, but they are habit forming. So the trophy is not long lived. And also, they are obstacles to Nishkama Bhakta. They don't progress much. But Krishna is very benevolent. He is very magnanimous and very helpful. And which he comes out with the next sloka, that is on the next week, first sloka, which says, Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta Shraddhayu Achyutam Ichati. In simple words, it means even those demigods who are worshipped by devotees, even I make the faith of those devotees steady. Thank you. Hari Om, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jagdish, for this wonderful explanation of this verse about Sakama and Nishkama Bhakti. Now, the seventh chapter introduces the theme of Bhakti, Ishvara Bhakti in particular, until the glorious 12th chapter. So we have the Vibhuti Yoga, and then we have the Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga, and then we have the Bhakti Yoga. So it wonderfully sort of summarizes the entire Vedanta knowledge, starting with what Ishvara Swarupa is, and then it diagnoses what is this problem of samsara, why are we sad, why is there so much suffering in the world, and that is because of Maya, and then how bhakti is the solution which overcomes the limitation of the mind and the intellect. So bhakti here is presented as an everyday sadhana that we can practice. It is a slow transformation from sakama to nishkama bhakti. So there is an expansion of our prayers from the soul, I, me, myself, my family, to the entire world. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Loka samastah sukhino bhavantu. So this concludes today's session. And I thank all the speakers of today, beginning with Dr. Ambika, Vani ma'am, Deeksha, Akhilesh, and Dr. Jagdish for wonderfully bringing out the beauty of each of these verses. Friends, as you all know, all this learning from the Bhagavad Gita, and we know that um, nobody who reads the Bhagavad Gita can get any real knowledge or enlightenment or transformation. The Bhagavad Gita cannot be read, it has to be explained by a guru. And we are very fortunate to have wonderful gurus who break down these seemingly complex topics to very simple, easy to follow and apply steps in our everyday life to bring about a drastic improvement in the quality of our life and the quality of our thoughts. So we know that Guru Purnima is coming up on the 21st of July, and the window is now open for all of you who are interested in making a contribution to our gurus. The message and details have already been sent on all the WhatsApp groups and on Telegram. They are now displayed on your screen. So, of course, everything is voluntary and entirely left to your discretion. With this, we come to the end of today's class, and we will meet again on the 19th of July to continue our study of the Mandukya Upanishad. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you.